Welcome in everyone to Cash That Ticket Podcast here on the Straight Outta Vegas AM feed. Wednesday, August 12th, 2026, here to get into some more baseball talk and our next NFL win total for the upcoming NFL season. Coming off a 2-0 best bet podcast. Felt like we haven't had one of those in a while, but did get to the window with the Yankees money line, Uncle Dave's best bet, and I did have the Dodgers team total to go over 4.5. That one got to the window and again extra inning. So back to back days were my best bet, or at least the play that I gave to a client on Monday with the Giants Astros over had to go to extras, and then also the Dodgers last night. But we'll, like I mentioned, we'll take it how we can get it here as far as best bets do goes, and more importantly, just winning. But joining me as always to help me break everything down happening in the sporting world, I got Uncle Diamond Dave Essler here with me. Uncle Dave, how's it going this morning, sir?
It's going great. I mean, we cashed two and zero best bets, and client night was 3-0. So I can't complain, not
There we
one
go.
bit.
Yeah, I did give out the Cubs team total over yesterday to clients. That one fairly got there fairly easily as well. So at least it's been a good start to this week for clients. Do have a run line 3-star best bet up for the MLB card as well here on pregame.com. So make sure you guys check that out. Do have afternoon baseball today on Wednesday. I think we have about, I want to say 5 to 6 games that are going to be starting as early as 11, sorry, 1:40 on the East Coast and taking us through about majority of the afternoon. So we'll start on a 6:40 first pitch Eastern time. Guardians and the Tigers. Foster Griffin getting the start here for the Guardians. It'll be Framber Valdez for the Tigers. Tigers minus 119 on the money line, plus 111 on the money line for the Guardians. Here, Uncle Dave told him this one sitting at 8.
Yeah, I mean, do we get the good for Amber or do we not? I mean, this is the guy that shut out Seattle, and he held the Athletics to only two in that tiny ballpark. Pitched well against the Royals, but clearly was crushed by the Cubs before that. Shut down the Athletics, crushed by Texas. I mean, which Framber do we get? And you know all about Framber, and the Indians have seen Indians Guardians have seen plenty of him. And then there's Foster Griffin. They picked him up at the trade deadline, and I don't. He's kind of like a poor version of Framber, if you ask me. I mean, he can look great. I made a lot of money on off him early. He made the All Star team, but since he made the All Star team, I think he had what 4 starts and pitched good against the Athletics at the small ballpark, but beaten by Arizona, beaten by Atlanta badly, gets traded and gets crushed by the Mets. Now I know the Mets have kind of recently found an offense, but it doesn't instill a lot of confidence in me. And the market is kind of like in Griffin. But if I'm being honest, and I guess I'll check the Detroit weather here in a bit, but if I'm being honest, I kind of like this over. It's only 8. They're kind of begging for under money. Um, it did go to 8.5 in some of the prediction markets, Calci being the big one. But I think I would be inclined to take the over here, if I'm being honest. Now, I will check the Detroit weather as we're going through this, and Detroit, no, not a lot of breeze, fairly mild. It's one of the top parks for runs. So yeah, I would take the over.
Yeah, so prior to getting to the Tigers, or signing with the Tigers, I should say, for Framber, was very dominant against the Guardians, but his last start against the Guardians did not go very well. 5 innings, he gave up 4 hits, had 4 walks in that game as well. And yeah, you mentioned we've talked a lot about Foster Griffin on this podcast, and there's just pitchers that after the All Star break, there's just regression due, and I think that's what's happened to Foster Griffin after his fantastic start at the beginning of the season with the Nationals there. So, um, if anything, I agree with you on the over. If you made me pick a side, I think it would be the Guardians. Again, like you mentioned, I really don't have trust with Framber. You mentioned the teams that he did have success against. Well, those were both AL West teams, right? And you mentioned the A's there, you mentioned the Mariners there, teams that he's familiar with when he was with the Astros there. Did get a little bit of against the Rangers, but I do think this is a spot here for the Guardians at the plus odds with Foster Griffin on the mound. We'll go over to the next game on the schedule. I'm just gonna have to start using my phone here because I was complaining to you yesterday um, that my laptop's slowing down here. But let's get over to where are we at? Let's go Cubs and the Nationals here, Uncle Dave. David Peterson on the mound for the Cubbies. It'll be Jackson Kent for the Nationals. Cubs are a minus 159 home favorite, plus 148 on the money line for the Nationals. Total is sitting at 9.5 in this one. Anything for Cubs Nationals?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on here. I mean, you got Peterson, who, in May and June, you would be fading him. And even if the first week in July, he was lit up by the Cardinals, 10 runs in 3.2 innings. But since then, five starts, one, two, three, four, five earned runs, right? So he is, back on his game, if you will. But is he back on his game enough to be trusted? I don't know the answer to that. We kind of know Washington can put up runs, even after some trades we didn't see coming, Garcia to the Yankees and whatnot. It seems a little bit steep to take the Cubs at minus 155, 160, whatever that is. So what do we know about Kent? Well, what we do know about Jackson Kent is he's making his first big league start. And if you look back at AAA, I mean, he's been at AA and AAA this year. And at AA, he pitched pretty well. I mean, but it was not very good competition. Gets to AAA, 13 starts, 63 hits, 57 innings pitched, 67 strikeouts. But all these kids coming out now strike out more than a batter per inning. It's kind of crazy. But I just think he's in over his head. And with the Washington bullpen, I would, or lack thereof, I would have to take the Cubs team total over.
Yeah, I think I'll go right back at that here tonight as well. I'm not laying a minus 159 price with David Peterson, who has not been very good to say the least this season. He is coming off a good start against the Toronto Blue Jays, and the Yankees and the St. Louis Cardinals. So his last five starts have been pretty good, but again, I think there's some regression due here for David Peterson. And the one thing I've been able to trust all season has been the Cubs offense. Case in point, last night when I gave it out to the clients, and that one got to the window fairly easily. So it would be either I would probably go full game over, first five over, or even Cubs team total over in this one. Again, like you mentioned, with the first start here for Jackson Kent for the Nationals here, we're not sure what we're going to get out of him. But again, I'm not in the mindset to lay a minus 159 price with David Peterson. I think there's a lot of recency bias in that number there for him in this game. Next game we'll get to here, Seattle Mariners and the New York Yankees. Bryce Miller getting the start here for the Mariners. It'll be Will Warren for the Yankees. Yankees are a minus 124 home favorite, plus 116 on the money line for the Mariners. Total this one, Uncle Dave, sitting at 8.5.
Yeah, I mean, tough one. I was on the Yankees last night, and I'm looking at this line. It's kind of weird. There's kind of a kind of a split in the market, if you will, in terms of syndicates. I mean, you've got three-quarters of the tickets are on the Yankees, which you kind of expect. They're the Yankees. You're paying a tax. Um, but then you have three-quarters of the money on Seattle. So you actually have a disagreement, if you will. And Miller, if you look at his cumulative stats, 79 innings, 60 hits, 13 home runs, and that's kind of a lot. Well, it actually is a lot. 13 and six, one every 6 innings. That's a lot. He hasn't pitched well lately. I mean, he got beaten by the Tigers. In fact, the Mariners have lost his last five starts. Now, my next question would be, how has he fared against the Yankees? Well, they haven't seen a lot of him. So I guess, which Miller are we going to see? And I could say the same thing about, which Warren we're going to see. I mean, this is a guy that, I guess, I'd probably default, and I know you do this a lot. He is much better at home, um,
Yeah.
but he does give up home runs. So I'm also thinking that game could go over. But 8.5, the fact that it hasn't gone to 9 is a little bit of a yellow flag for me. I mean, it's not going to be that easy. Um, that's a tough one. I mean, I could see a 3-2 game, or I could see a 7-6 game there, but I guess. Um, the Yankees are winning right now. I would have to take the Yankees. I don't love it, but I would have to take the Yankees. Um, yeah, I mean that it comes down to who you trust, right? It always does whenever you make a
Yeah.
bet.
And
And I don't know that I trust either one of them. So given the Yankees are kind of on a little bit of a, they won last night, I guess I would have to go back to the Yankees.
yeah, and the Mariners have lost 7 of the last 8 starts that Bryce Miller has made for this team, and the
Right.
opposing offenses have been able to put up runs in those games.
Yeah,
And
but
those,
that's just it. At some point, the pendulum has swung and the value's the other way. And I don't know that
yeah,
tonight's it, but I mean, if we're all that easy, we would never lose.
yeah, and again, we're not going to have something for every single game, right? And that's why we kind of talk through it. And I feel like sometimes we do force something, but again, I wasn't in love with this game either. Again, like I mentioned, 7 out of 8 losses for the Mariners and Bryce Miller starts. They've given up at least 5 runs in all those losses there, combined with Bryce Miller and the bullpen. Um, but it's also the fact, do I trust the Yankees offense without some of these guys, obviously the Aaron Judges of the world, that, MVP that changed the dynamics of a lineup, right?
Right.
And we talked about Luis Garcia Jr. and George Lombard coming in and turning things around a little bit for this team. I think for the Yankee side of things, I think it's probably under. I don't think they can really get into a big, I guess, shootout or a run fest, I guess we can say, in this game here. So I'll take the Yankees here, but again, like you mentioned, I don't love it either. I really don't trust Bryce Miller, um, and especially on the road. You mentioned the Roman Road split, and that was the biggest thing that jumped out to me as well. Let's get over to the next game on the schedule, Uncle Dave. Let's go Red Sox and the Blue Jays here tonight. Ranger Suarez taking the mound for the Red Sox, and it'll be Jose Soriano for the Blue Jays. Jays are a plus 111 home underdog, minus 119 on the money line for the Red Sox, the road team. Told this one is sitting at 7 with some heavy juice on the over at minus 122, currently over on DraftKings right now, Uncle Dave. Anything for your Sox and the Jays?
Yeah, I mean, I like Toronto here. Boston, they had to be overvalued after that ridiculous, July that they had, right?
Yeah.
And Suarez hasn't looked good in his last couple starts, and I think the Jays have won 6 of 9 since the All Star break. Soriano, new lease on life coming over to Toronto. You would think maybe Toronto was probably, I don't want to say tanking, but giving up on the season. They traded away Gaussman. I think they traded away Dalton Varsho. No huge names, but names. And I just think Boston, emotionally probably drained after that huge win, and they get all these expectations. Then they start losing a couple games. So I would be inclined. And Suarez has not looked great. He has pitched good against Toronto this year, but as I always say, teams make adjustments. So I would have to go with Toronto here.
Yeah, 2 starts Ranger Suarez has this season against the Blue Jays. They've actually been really, really good.
Yeah,
12 innings combined, 5 hits. But again, you take a look at it more recently, Uncle David's. I think what's probably jumping off the page to you is that he's not going out there for a very long time. I don't know if he's still on a pitch count or innings limit or whatever the case might be. But over his last 4 starts, he hasn't made it to the 5th inning. And his last 5 starts have seen at least 7 or more runs in those games there, and he's giving it up, right? I think walks are certainly an issue right now for Ranger Suarez. So again, it's a question that which Ranger Suarez do we get to tonight? Is it the 2 dominating performance that he had against the Blue Jays, or is it what we've seen recently where he's given up 3 earned runs in each of his last 2 starts over 7 and 2/3 innings there? So we've talked a lot about Jose Soriano, right? Calls he coming over from the Angels. His home and road splits were the big things that did jump out off the page there. And he's been pretty good over his last couple starts here. Historically against the Red Sox has not been very good. I'd be inclined honestly to take the over 7 in this one here, Uncle Dave. I feel like this number is a little bit low. It looks like it might be on the move to 7.5. But I really do like the over 7 in this game between the Jays and the Red Sox. As much as I swore yesterday, I said I wouldn't be playing any more overs with the Jays. But this number does seem a little bit conservative at 7. I mean, at 3 to 3, you're at least, guaranteed a push. And if it does get to extras, which kind of has been the theme for my bets, at least early this week, maybe it does get over the total there. But over 7 would be the look here for me. That's the last game I wanted to get to, Uncle Dave. As far as the evening card goes, you have anything else that you want to mention to the listeners as far as the evening slate goes for the MLB?
No, I mean the games we didn't talk about. I mean the Mets and Braves, Tyler Mahle and Zach Thornton. I mean I'm a little surprised that the Braves are minus 170 there. I mean that kind
Yep.
of jumps out at me a little bit. I might be inclined to take the Mets on the run line. And what other game did we talk about? Oh yeah, Texas and the Angels. I mean, you have to fade Klassen, right? He just hasn't been good. I don't love Quantrill being a minus 130 road favorite. So I think what I would look there is Rangers team total over probably. Um, I don't, what the total for the game opened 9.5, juiced under pretty heavily, but it's down 9, juiced under. So there maybe, you would think they're expecting a, 6-1 Rangers win. And I kind of do too, but again, they're just not always that easy. So I would tread lightly there. And the market is also suggesting that the Pirates will beat the Marlins over Jason Junko. I like so I would look towards the Pirates in that one.
Yeah, we mentioned Ball Skeens yesterday, me fading him at least, and I don't know why I wasn't confident enough to pull the trigger on that one yesterday, but they're just in a mess right now. Are the Pirates? You mentioned the minus 170 there for the Braves. I think a Mets. I know they got shut out yesterday, I believe, or I don't know if they scored one, but um, I think their offense can bounce back here tonight against Tyler Mahle. Historically, has not been very good against the Mets. He did have a start earlier this year on April 3rd against the Mets. 5 innings, 8 hits, 5 earned runs, 2 home runs he gave up in that game, and walks are also a concern for him as well. So, yeah, holding a 1.36 WHIP on the season as well, and he's issued at least 2 walks in 4 of his last 5 starts as well. So, coming off a great start against the Yankees, but again, just talked about the Yankees offense and how much they're struggling without Aaron Judge in the lineup there. So, I'd agree with you on that one. All right, let's close the book there on the MLB side of things for today. We'll get to best bets later on here, but let's get over to our next NFL win total for the upcoming season. And that is going to be our good old Kansas City Chiefs, who come into this season with a win total of 10.5. I think the same scenario as the 49ers we talked about yesterday. There's plus money on that over 10.5, and then a juiced over 9.5 for the upcoming year. Obviously, the big storyline in the offseason for this Chiefs team was the health of one Patrick Mahomes, who looks like, and all indications are that he will be ready for week 1 of the NFL season. Andy Reid did come out and say that there is a possibility that he plays in the preseason, at least in week 1. We'll see if that comes into fruition or not. But last season, obviously, this was a team that missed the playoffs in a very, very long time after all their Super Bowl runs. Um, they finished third in the division. They were only 6-11 last year, 5-4 at home. A woeful 1-7 on the road, Uncle Dave, and 1-5 within the division. They were 3-9 within the conference, but still finished with a plus 34 point differential. They lost their final 6 games of the season, but here they are. And we've talked already a lot about the AFC West. In fact, we've already talked about the other 3 teams in this AFC West division, where at least a couple we do expect some improvement from, maybe some regression from another team as well. We could talk about the roster and some of the question marks at the wide receiver position, more and so with Rashee Rice and what the situation with him will be. But what are your thoughts on this Chiefs team coming into this year with Mahomes coming off of the ACL injury, Travis Kelce now married to Taylor Swift and that saga? But what are your thoughts on this Chiefs team?
Yeah, I mean, tough one here, right? I mean, I mean, Mahomes is the reason that Kansas City has such a high ceiling. I mean, let's face it.
Yeah.
Um, Coming off a knee injury, but I'm actually okay. No, I'm not okay if he goes down, but they have Justin Fields back there, so they do have some quarterback depth. I mean, of course, he's not Patrick Mahomes, but he's a legitimate insurance option, if you will. Um, you know, Mahomes, Kelsey, Rice, Worthy, everybody knows that. Andy Reid, much better running game potential with Kenneth Walker now, right? Um, so I think their offense is going to be a-okay. Defense, I love Spagnuolo. I hated him in 2007 when they beat the Patriots when he was with the Giants, but he is that good, right? But the thing is, they're going to have three new starters in the secondary and maybe six new starters overall. So that is not uh, not ideal, right? But here's the thing: their schedule, right? I mean, they start off with the Broncos, right? Uh, then the Colts, and at the Dolphins, at the Raiders. Then they get an early bye week in Week 5, and then the Chargers are at home. So they could conceivably start 5-0, 4-1 maybe. And I think that the reason I like that is yes, they have a lot of new faces on defense, especially in the secondary. But maybe that gives Spagnolo time to get them sort of on a firmer footing, if you will, because then they've got at Seattle, at Denver, potential losses. But then they got three more probably easy wins: Jets, Falcons, Cardinals. Then they go at Bills, at Rams, and then you know they got a couple of tough ones. The 49ers, but it's at home at the Chargers. I wanted to say they're going to continue to suck, but they're also beneficiaries of a 6-11 schedule, right? So I'm gonna go against what I would think before I started looking into it. I'm gonna take the over, and that one reason why I think that I'm surprised at myself is because I expect Denver to still be competitive, and I expect the Chargers to get better in year two under Harbaugh, and the Raiders with Mendoza. I mean, they can't get any worse, right? So it's a tough call to take the over with Kansas City, but I just think that they're probably on a mission, if you will. I mean, their window is clearly it's not closed, but it's not wide open anymore either. So I think the competitiveness of the veterans on offense. I'd probably look at some overs in the beginning of the season because I do think their offense is going to be a-okay.
Yeah.
But I question the defense, but uh, they do get the benefit of some layups in the first few weeks. So I think Kansas City will be good for overs, and I think their win total will probably sneak over as well.
Yeah, 9.5 minus 160 on the over at DraftKings right now. If you want to take the plus odds, plus 115 over 10.5, it's there as well as alt on DraftKings. Excuse me, right now. Yeah, we expect Mahomes to be better. I think we'll see a lot of Kenneth Walker the third here. Obviously, Super Bowl MVP that they did pick up to come in the backfield. They really just haven't had a consistent running game. I know they've tried guys like Kareem Hunt and Isaac Pacheco, just didn't work out for them. But now here's Kenneth Walker, who obviously last year, especially in the postseason, had a phenomenal year leading the Seahawks to a Super Bowl. So I do expect them to either get him obviously involved a lot in the passing game, especially early in the season, and also obviously running the football there as well. I think Rashee Rice, all that stuff may be in the past now. Xavier Worthy was dealing with a little bit of injury there as well. They also have Tyquan Thornton, who also emerged last year in the absence of Rashee Rice and some of the other guys that they did have. I'm not even going to pay attention to Travis Kelce. I don't know how much he has left in the tank right now. Being what 36 years old now, he's going to be 37 around October 5th. So again, he's getting up there in age, and we don't know how much time he has left. As far as the defense does goes, obviously you still have Chris Jones and George Karlaftis in the front seven there for this team. So, like you mentioned, right, when you have Patrick Mahomes, you always have an opportunity to win football games, and more importantly, also put up points there as well. So, I think they're going to be okay. I'd take the over 9.5. I think this is definitely a 10-win team. If you again, like I mentioned, 10.5 is there as well, plus 115 right now. And you take a look as well for their, looking back at the draft, it was a lot of guys that they drafted at the defensive positions, right? Pretty much their first four picks were all defensive guys there. So that was something that they were looking to improve, obviously, in the offseason here for this Kansas City Chiefs team. So, again, with all that being said, I'd be on the over here for the Kansas City Chiefs, looking back to contending again in the AFC West and, of course, for another Super Bowl ring for this upcoming season. Any closing thoughts, Uncle Dave, on the Chiefs?
No, I think I spilled it all. I'm I'm tapped out of the Chiefs. It was hard because being a Patriots fan, we kind of grew to dislike the Chiefs and didn't want another dynasty. So I really had to put my fan bias out the window when I said I would take the over.
All right, we'll put a pin in that for the Kansas City Chiefs. Again, working our way up. We have about, I think, 6 teams left for our NFL win total rundown here. Again, before we do get over to best bets for the episode, just want to remind everybody, get over there, pregame.com. Got a brand new promo code for you guys, NFL50. You can save $50 on any NFL season access discounted subscription through the Super Bowl. So right now it's available for $549 for the NFL season. That takes you all the way through the Super Bowl. But you can knock off $50 off of that price by using the promo code NFL50, and you can play only $4.99 for the entirety of the NFL season. So whether it's Uncle Dave, whether it's Sleepy, whether it's myself, another pregame pro over at pregame.com, now would be a great time to get on a all-access NFL package. That package will take you all the way through the Super Bowl. Right now, priced at $549. But again, use that promo code NFL50 and get it down to $499 all the way through the Super Bowl. All right, Uncle Dave, time for best bets for the Wednesday card. I'll let you lead off. Where are you taking us?
Yeah, I'm going to go to the Pittsburgh Pirates at even money. And as I said, the market's trending in that direction. If you look at sort of recent stuff, you'd say Mlodzinski, 3 innings, 7 hits, 5 runs against the Mets. But let's kind of chalk that up to the Mets are hitting right now. We've talked about it a lot lately. He's not going to pitch deep, 2, 3 innings, but you know, it'll get him off to a good start. I don't think Miami will score early. The only other time recently that he gave up runs was at the Yankees, and that was not horrible. Lists a lot of pitches, a lot of walks, but the thing I like about him is he keeps the ball in the park. Right, he's only given up 8 home runs in 97 innings, and Jansen Junk's one of those guys that I was kind of on him a lot back in late April, early May. Even through most of May, he was pitching pretty well, but the thing I don't like about him, he's a fly ball pitcher, right? I mean, he's got some games, if you want to look back, where, he was giving up 14, 16, 13 fly balls, and that's just killer. Um, you know, I have to think that the market is right here, and I will take the Pittsburgh Pirates.
All right, Pirates for Uncle Dave as his best bet for the Wednesday card. For my best bet, I think it's going to be Mets in the first 5 innings behind Zach Thornton. He's having a pretty good season thus far for the New York Mets. He did face this Braves team back on, it was just recently, and I was just looking at it. Monday, July 27th, 6 1/3, 3 earned runs. He gave up 5 strikeouts and 1 walk. You mentioned Tyler Mahle and him being a -170 favorite. I don't think he's warranted to be that. As I mentioned, he did struggle in that one start he had earlier this year against the Mets. But I do think they bounced back after not putting up any runs last night against the Braves in that game there. They did get shut out 4-0 last night. But Zach Thornton, he's what's really driving me to make this bet. Did have a couple of rough outings in there against the Marlins. He gave up 3 earned runs, but he did bounce back nicely against the Pirates in his last start. 5 shutout innings, went 6 shutout innings against the Brewers, 7 shutout innings against the Boston Red Sox. And again, just having a phenomenal season. So right now, First 5 innings money line for uh, the Mets is sitting at plus 135 right now. Currently over on DraftKings. Shop around, get the best of the number, but I do like that as well. Their first 5 team total is at 1.5 at minus 140. Currently over on DraftKings as well. So I think they could get two off of off of Mile here in the start here. But official best bet Mets plus 135. First 5 innings money line for the Wednesday card. And that, my friends, is going to do it here for this edition of Cash That Ticket podcast on the Straight Out of Vegas AM feed. Uncle Dave, anything else for our listeners before we go our separate ways?
Yeah, I was looking for an afternoon game for anybody that didn't want to wait till this gets printed up, and I'm not seeing a whole lot. I mean, I actually like Zebby Matthews, so it's a 1:40 Eastern time start. I would consider the Twins at home as short favorites. I mean, you can get a minus 105 at FanDuel, minus 108 at DraftKings. Um, Minus 110 is probably the worst I see. So I like Minnesota this afternoon. I don't love it, but if you're a degenerate like me and need something on in the background while you're working, I would take the Twins.
Yeah, I do have a 3-star run line play of the day up for an afternoon game on pregame.com right now. So if you want to get on that, it's available. Pretty good start to the week as far as client plays go. So Doug, do have one for this afternoon here for the afternoon action there. So hopefully we're back tomorrow, Uncle Dave, talking about some more winners for this podcast. Next team up on our NFL win total list will be the Philadelphia Eagles. So hopefully we'll talk about them tomorrow. We'll talk about some more games on the Thursday card, and we'll rock it as we usually do. All right, good luck with your tickets here today. Enjoy the games, and we'll talk to you guys down the road.